Welcome to another episode of the Global Green Action Project, a place where we get to meet amazing heroes doing great changes in the world to make it a more compassionate, kinder place through humanitarian, animal, and environmental initiatives. I'm your host, Jennifer, and for today's video, we are going to experience part one of an incredible journey of a visionary helping to heal the world. And we're going to learn about his early beginnings, the power of a growth mindset, and a sense of wonder, how it's helped him have an incredible adventure helping others in the most incredible of ways. Our special guest expert today is the one and only Dr. John Goodman, who is a scientist, inventor, multi-published author, and educator, just to name a few of his expertise. He is going to show us the power of a growth mindset and how we can also be adventurers helping to heal the world by having that sense of wonder in our own personal journey of helping ourselves and those around us.
I'm going to start with two very tiny anecdotes. One from very near the beginning of my life, so far back that I don't actually remember it, but I remember being told about it and shown photographic evidence of it by my mother and my sister and others. My father and my grandfather both liked to take pictures of our family. They wanted to have pictures of me doing typical things and however old I was, 2-year-old, 1-year-old, I don't know. So they would get out their camera to take a picture when I was doing something cute. But the pictures never showed me doing something cute. They always showed me looking directly at the camera, a little slack-jawed, vacant face. Actually, what happened was, as soon as the camera came out, I was attracted to that and wanted to know, what is that object? What is it doing? How does it work? I was just studying it. That is characteristic of me through my entire life. So now I'm 81, going on 82 this summer. And I would say all of that lifetime has been learning about the world, with the questions in my mind always being, what is that? How does it work? Why does it work? And that has to do with the technical aspects of the real world around us, and to some extent, the inner workings of the people around us, I speculate. A modern version of that, my wife broke a binder clip the other day. I didn't know you could break a binder clip. So my question to her was, how did it break? And she talked to me about what she was doing that overstressed it. I said, no, not how did you break it? How did it break? Where did it break? What happened? Oh, she couldn't tell me that. She didn't care, so she didn't notice. I would have cared. Second anecdote. This is more recent. Someday we're driving on the freeway. My wife is driving. Some driver does something foolish and dangerous, and she's startled. She's probably scared a little bit. She has to compensate, and she starts getting really angry at this other driver. And she may say something like, "Why would he do a thing like that?" A rhetorical question, of course, but being who I am, I immediately try and answer it. Say, well, perhaps this is what, and I try and put myself in his place and think, why would I do that? And give what seems to me a reasonable response. I'm operating under the assumption that everyone always does the best they can do in the situation they're in with the information they have. So why would he make that choice then? I come up with it. And she's angry at me for not being angry at him the way she is. And she says later on, "You are the most emotionally generous person I know." I'm not financially generous. I'm a cheapskate, but emotionally I'm generous. So that's who I am. Probably starts with my parents. My mother graduated from Stanford University. She was trained as an elementary school teacher and later worked as such some of the time. My father went to another school, not so great, but then he went on to UC Berkeley for his master's in history, and that's where they met, or when they met. They fell in love, they got married. My father then decided to be a minister, and he went to seminary in New York State. And then his first job, He was an American Baptist minister. And if you don't know, Baptists are perhaps one of the more conservative branches of Christianity, but American Baptists are the very liberal end of that. So they're much closer to other mainstream Protestant churches. Anyway, his first job was in Calais, Maine. You cannot get any further east or north in this country. Otherwise, you're in Canada. And that's where my sister was born. A few years later, he got a job in Fresno, California, in the center of the state. That's where I was born. And a few years after that, he moved to Pasadena, California, and that's where I grew up from ages 3 to 13. My father taught me to respect everyone, to honor everyone. He said, the bus driver is as good as the mayor. No one is better than anyone else. You are as good as anyone else. And I learned. Later in life, I learned how to get the best for myself out of life with the minimum amount of money, because I didn't have a lot of money. When I met my second wife, who is now my wife, she thought I was wealthy because of the way I was living, not because of the money I had. She was startled to learn that she was relatively wealthy. I was practically a pauper. My career path, if you've looked at my LinkedIn profile, you've seen the skeleton. Let me put a few bones on it. I got a really great scholarship to a really great college, Swarthmore College. I was one of the first class of National Merit Scholars. I wouldn't have gone to Swarthmore if I hadn't previously won a prize in a contest called the Science Talent Search. That gave me a trip from Seattle, where we were then living, to Washington, D.C. And I told them, it's okay to fly me there, but I want to go home by train, and I want to stop at Swarthmore and Oberlin, who were two colleges I was considering. Having visited them both, I knew Swarthmore was for me. And then a few months later, I got this National Merit Scholarship to Oberlin College. Oh, whoops, that used to be my first choice, but it's not. Well, I had to argue with them. And the response, first of all, they said, well, you told us, and I said, but you advertised that you were enabling bright young men and women to pursue the college education of their dreams. And you are not allowing me to do that. You are preventing me from doing that. And the response in return was, congratulations, you have won a National Merit Scholarship to Swarthmore College. That's how I got to go there. My parents didn't have the money to send me. They could never have done that. But I had a great education, at the end of which I won 2 fellowships. One was a National Science Foundation Fellowship, and the other one was a Danforth Fellowship. And I don't know if you know, the Danforth Fellowship program stresses spirituality and values and that kind of thing. So NSF paid for my education. The Danforth paid for my cultural care during the time of my graduate education, including sending me to conferences, but also organizing support group on campus and so on and so forth. So I was very grateful to both of them, and I got a great graduate education, at the end of which I got a job. I could try looking anywhere, but I liked California, so I looked there, and I got a job. In fact, more than one job offer, but I took the offer to go to Harvey Mudd College, which is one of the finest science-oriented but otherwise liberal arts colleges in the nation. It's kind of Caltech without the grad school. And I taught there for 6 years. Learned a lot about teaching, my first time doing it, and learned a lot about a lot of things. And began wondering, what would life be like if I didn't have an academic career? I mean, this life is nice, but it's not the only thing, is it? However, at that point, I wasn't sure what else to do, and I didn't realize that at 6 years, I had to leave. So I did, because there were no tenure track openings, so they couldn't promote me. And the rules of the game go, if you're not promoted, you're out. So I was out. And at that time, there was a story in the paper about a new college being started, a new college of all the arts. And I already was an appreciator of the arts, had many friends in the art department at Pomona College close to us, part of the same group of colleges. So I applied to see if they could use a physicist. Not that year. And a friend of mine said, well, I'm going on sabbatical for 2 years to India. He was teaching across the street from me at the Joint Science Center of the Claremont College. He said, why don't you apply to be my replacement? So I did, and I got it. And for 2 years, instead of teaching students who were all planning to go into science or engineering, I was teaching students, none of whom were planning to go into science or engineering. At the end of that, I actually got a job at CalArts, and for 1 year was teaching students who had no interest in liberal education at all. They just wanted to be artists. Interesting year. At the end of it, neither of us thought it was a good idea to continue. So I was done, and I could try my experiment of, well, what else does life have to offer? And I didn't look for an academic teaching job. One came looking for me.
Stay tuned for part 2 in our upcoming video, where we continue this amazing adventure of a visionary helping to heal the world. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again real soon. Until then, be well. Bye for now.